Hello and welcome to the tutorial how to paint a cloud. How to paint a cloud in a mountainous wasteland of ice and desolation. In this tutorial you'll learn how to get in touch with that inner winter, that inner dreariness. Anyway, I found this painting at, you guessed it, another flea market, and it was really messed up. It's on like cardboard. So the first thing I did to it was I covered it with some acrylic medium just to kind of seal it, because this cardboard would just like soak up all the oils in your paint, and there's like nothing worse than not having a well prepared surface for painting. Nothing worse. Not even waterboarding. So I'm just going to start, I'm going to attack this and I'm going to pop some clouds in. And I mean, this was done with these really, there's no variations here in the grays. So we're going to kind of revisit this guy's painting. It's a nice sketch. It's a nice little sketch. I like this area. His other one I got is really nice, and I'm kind of scared to go into it because it's really nice. But let's liven this up and let's get some more highlights and push the darks a little bit more as well. Yes. So first things first, I'm gonna go straight into these areas. Well, we're gonna deal with just soft edges basically in this whole thing. So I guess we can do the palette cam. Yeah, our little palette here. Get a nice big glop of white there to begin with. But we're gonna go with, we gotta find out what is this blue, because this is really yucky. You know, this painting looks like it was hanging in a pub for the last 20 years. So we gotta muck up this blue a little bit. Basically, what I'm trying to do now is recreate years and years of nicotine abuse and soot, all these things. I should turn this off. Oh yeah. So we're getting a little green. Wow, that's still like bright blue compared to this painting. Man, this is gonna be hard to. So, you know what I do when I paint, I basically mix my color and then I'm dabbing it onto the surface. See, now I've hit the blue. So this is the gray. If you look back up at the painting, can't really see much of it, but this is the gray, pretty much identical to the gray in the painting. Yeah. It's a little bit darker, which is good. And we're going to start this to get our darks in. Now all these areas where there's, you know, brown coming through, we want to attack that stuff first, because we want to eliminate all this brownness. So I'm just thinking in terms of soft edges here. Really the surface here is really actually quite nice. Somebody's gonna freak out one day and be like, "You're painting over a Corot," or something like that. I'll be like, "What? Sorry." No, I actually put a protective coating on, which means if this was some very famous painting, they would actually be able to remove this layer. It probably cost a lot of money though. A lot of people have attacked paintings over the years, actually, idiots wanting to get their place in art history. Somebody attacked Guernica, I think it was in the 70s, and wrote like "Stop the Lies" or something like that. They're usually just crazy people or really mediocre artists. Paying attention to our soft edges. Painting is always about edges. And in this particular painting, it's always going to be all about keeping those edges soft. Man, this is such a dreary painting, and it's such a dreary day outside that I'll keep, there's a signature, the original guys. So right now I'm just kind of making up how this snow is going to be. Yes. Now all this, where this has all been damaged here, and just basically looks like it's got scraped off or something. I got this painting cost about $5 with the frame, which is pretty nice. I'm going to go a little bit deeper and see if I can pop that mountain in the back. I don't think it's this dark. Wow, it is that dark. It's that dark, but it just needs to be more red. Why is this thing still turning on? I told you to turn off. When you're mixing purples to use here, you can see here I mix my main purple, and I'm just going to steal some of this white, because purple, first of all, it's like one of those colors that you really can't mix that well. If you want to get a good purple, you should just really buy it, pretty much. But the problem with that is most are very translucent, and I like to work more with opaque colors. Okay, I think I've got it pretty well. When I was in school, we just had to, we were given like, I don't know, 50 Pantones, those sheets with colors on them. We just had to mix everything with red, yellow, and blue. It's a good exercise, learning to mix paint. A lot of people are missing this basic mixing techniques now, because they approach oil painting the same way they would digital painting. And the thing is, if you were painting an oil painting in the same manner as you were painting like a digital painting, you'd have to, it would take like 7 years or something, because all the layers people tend to use in digital painting, they come in with a big, broad, it's supposed to kind of follow the same idea, more or less, but they block in the big shapes first. If you look at like character designers and this sort of stuff, which I'm not, I think it's, those guys are very good at what they do. But I am addicted to oil paint. I only want to use oils in real mediums. Because once all the cloud storage gets hacked, you'd have to, all your paintings can vanish. I don't know, I've played around with some digital painting stuff, but I just never really liked it in the end. It seems really rubbery, the surfaces that they make with these thousands and thousands of transparent layers. And if you want something to be photorealistic, sure. There's obviously people that can render tremendously well. But if you want to use a tablet, digital, Wacom to make stuff look like oil paint, like, I just don't see the point. Just use paint. It's a lot more versatile. It's actually more forgiving. What? How can it be forgiving? Oh, I Control Z that. I actually took a picture of this beforehand. I'm just thinking it could be funny if somebody wanted to print it and try to do it. Bob Ross style. But these, you know, I think I'm going to end up putting like a giant, I'd probably put him here, like an abominable snowman, and going to end up in here. Oh, why are you ruining it? There's enough landscapes in the world. There's not enough abominable snowman paintings. That's my answer, and I'm sticking to it. I'm not really sure where this ends. I think this goes up here. Wonder if this painting was done in plein air. En plein air. In the open air. I haven't done that forever. I should go out and paint outside again. Did a video this morning of just drawing at the train station because my train was late. This painting is so dark. But spring will be here soon, which means we can go mushroom hunting. Very common here for people to go out into the wilderness, into the nature, and pick some mushrooms. But in order to go to mushroom hunting, you have to wear a silly hat. It's kind of a requirement. So I first need to get a silly hat, and I will be allowed to collect mushrooms. I mean, this stuff is just kind of the byproduct, that doesn't make sense. This is kind of not even the focus of what I wanted to do. I just wanted to bang some clouds out. Leave his signature there a little bit. When I was like, I don't know, maybe 10 years old, my dad was a classical DJ on the radio, so I would always hang out at the radio station on Friday nights when his show was, and after the show we'd go to the Drumstick Cafe, and we would get like a big milkshake and, you know, fries and like a grilled cheese sandwich. It's pretty awesome. But it'd be like 1 o'clock, you know, in the morning, because the show would be on late, and it was cool that, you know, we got to go out to eat that late when I was like 10. And I remember these guys, because all the drunks would come in, you know, because the bars would be out, and all the drunks would come in wanting their drunk diner food. And this group of drunks, like, plopped down behind us where we were sitting in our booth, and there was all these, like, you know, thrift store artwork type stuff on the walls. And this one guy was like, "That's a beautiful painting." I'm like, "That's a beautiful painting." And I was like, I think I could paint that. Because my grandma had this huge house. She was a painter. I should show some of her works. And I mean, she was a serious painter. She was doing giant, like, 9-foot by 9-foot canvases, these giant abstract pieces of dirt and blood and all this sort of stuff. And she also was kind of like a folk artist, I'd say. Like, she made money selling, just selling paintings on shingles, actually, from barns, because there was an old barn that got torn down, and there's, like, you know, thousands and thousands of these weathered shingles that they were just gonna burn. But my grandma was like, "No, screw that. Let's paint. I want to paint on that." So she got my uncle to sand them all down, like sand them really pretty nicely, because they owned a big company, I guess, in its own right. They just fixed up tractors, buy tractors, fix them, and sell them. And so they had a bunch of machinery in a huge shop. So she got all these things, like, really nicely sanded down into these panels. You know, this old barn shingles. I'd like to get a hold of some of those, actually. That'd be cool. Paint on. I bet they were really nice and soft, because the paintings are all, you can put a link down in the description if you want to go to her website I made of her works. She painted a lot of other stuff, like painted just the people of the town, kind of normal people milking cows, this sort of stuff. My dad has, you know, we still have all the work, all our sculptures. We have to figure something out to do with it. It's always hard being a custodian of paintings, you know? Because that's essentially what you kind of end up being, is you know, if a painting is really worth something, even if it's because of a family member doing it, somebody has to end up watching over that thing. And sometimes they, you know, they end up like this painting here. They end up in a junk bin next to a pile of old tires, falling apart. So now we've got some hard edges here still. And what I'm going to do is the old dry brush blending. Yeah, you just get a brush. Here's a bigger flat brush. Again, these are like 4 acrylics generally, but screw it. And what I'm going to do is I'm just barely whisking over the tops of these, and my goal is to just blend out some of these edges. We can have some hard edges. If you're looking for that kind of like Gerhard Richter painting technique, where he's blending things, this is pretty much it. You gotta be crazy light when you push on it. You can't push too hard. Blend the edge. Why do you look for pictures? Don't look for pictures. Ah. Getting more and more disgruntled with Max over. Thank you. Now escape. Obviously I don't want you. Building up really some softness here. It's got to pretty much pick and choose your edges, which ones are going to be soft, which ones you want to keep as hard. That's what a lot of painting is. That's what figure painting is, or figure drawing as well. Basically, all it is a battle of soft versus hard edges. That, yeah, pretty well blocked in. I think what's going to happen is I'm going to go and I'm going to put this white in at the bottom. It's really going to pop this whole top. It's going to be so much lighter. So I got to be careful with how light I go here. It's going to be easy to go too light. But I'd like to get a little... It's hard to see what time of the day this would be. You know, is this... Because it's just a really overcast day. And of course, when we're doing a sky, the bottom, you know, is going to be lighter than the top. Ah, man, this is rough. Because we're just going to have to start carving mountains out, basically. It's too light. It's still too light. So easy to get this. One of my teachers used to say, like, her favorite paint was at the bottom of the jar that she would have her paint thinner in. You'd always get this gray, purplish gray color. You can see it in a lot of like Rembrandts, actually. It's kind of gray background color. Okay. It's going to go lighter than that, but I think we're on the right wavelength. Colors are frequencies, just like sounds. What? Alright. I think I can make do with that. Let's do a subtle change. See, look at this. Starting off with this. No way, Jose Canseco. Trees are always fun, but I should go in and do those first in black. Okay, so I go back. Because basically the reason why I should do them black first is because I want to cut them out. I want to be able to just cut these trees out with my sky color. I'm going to come in with that. Too blue. Too blue, baby, I love you. Yes. like fixing up stuff, so to speak. Rescuing these old paintings. And then giving them a new life. Obviously, some people might think it's kind of cocky to paint on the top of somebody else's work, but the way I look at it, these paintings were like basically they didn't have a good life ahead of them. Most would be just discarded in the trash. They're like literally, I am getting paintings out of the trash. And I think it's like, this idea of property and what happens to property, what happens to paintings, that they kind of have these temporary custodians, as I was saying before, but they get to change hands, and I've been pretty successful so far at selling quite a few of these over the years. And so these also go to new homes, and they get to live on walls again, and people get to, the original art gets to kind of live on in a certain way. And if somebody did this to one of my paintings, it wouldn't really bother me. And painting is such a strange thing, especially going to school for painting like I did, at a very conceptual school, the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. And like, what is the actual purpose of painting? Because it's such a, obviously everybody thinks of painting in this weird way, like it being the real deal. As soon as it's in paint, it's art, and I certainly like to play with media and reinterpret media from over the years, different media. If I'm looking at movies or making paintings from video games, which I've done before too. But I think man, is this blue wrong? Sorry, I'm just like gotta roll with it. But yeah, just that painting, as soon as, if you're a painter, that means you're like automatically an artist. And there's all this kind of like romanticized view of painting, that you get to relax, and I just want to relax and paint. Actually, this is pretty relaxing today. Mixing up more blue. Okay. All right, let's start banging some clouds out. Now that we got this blue kind of overtone, hopefully I'm keeping the feeling of the time of the day before we go too off kilter. This blue is definitely going to be in some reflections. When stuff is hard, it also makes it look like it's more in the foreground, obviously, because we can see things clearer, which are closer to us. So we want to make sure we don't have any too crisp and sharp edges, although we can still have edges. Like this one here. Kind of insinuate though that we have these edges. I'm totally Bob Ross in it today. Bob Ross was great. Okay, nice. So I'm going to start banging in some big cloud shapes now. And I have to actually clean my brush. If you're messing with white, it's best to just clean your brush in between. Because once you get a little bit of white, it's just going to infect everything forever. So I'm going to mix up my cloud color on the palette cam. And just going for a purple, basically. Add a little bit of yellow to the purple. Take down the intensity. Thing I always learned was your palette should look like you're painting. You should always mix on your palette first. Might be too dark. Yo, that's way too dark. So, now we have the fun part. We get to lighten this up. Getting back to that ugly gray, ugly purple. But it's a gloomy day today on Mount Gloom. And the trick to, this thing's just falling slowly. I'm gonna screw it. There we go. The thing with clouds is actually similar to the way we work down here. I'm gonna go for big cloud shapes. You've got to be fast when you're banging in clouds. These things should look very light and airy. Bigger shapes on top. And clouds, once again, are nothing but hard edges versus soft edges. And as clouds go to the horizon, they get smaller, of course. You can just go straight into this blue because as they go towards the horizon, they're also going to be, let's see how composition works here. The same as our mountain, we're going to see more just blended, just the essence of a cloud, really. Don't need to find the whole thing. Because they're so small, they're just little wiggles. And see, this is one of my screw-ups. It's one of my big habits. I always go left to right, and this always puts me in this position where I'm not quite sure about this top section. Top right of the canvas can be, maybe I'll even make it like this, and it's so big. Yeah, let's try that. I'm going to be a little bit more liberal with my oil than I am normally, because I want to get the speed of putting this stuff on. But we're all just going for nothing but shadow shapes. Same way we paint hair, same way we paint everything. Just going for the big shadow shapes first. I'm going to make this really big cloud here at the top. Make it feel more expansive. I mean, I'm just making this up completely. No reference. Yeah. So, once we've got that that piece done, basically, are you done? You done moving or what? There we go. As I say up the ladder, all we do is we start going to our mid-gray, Way too much oil. Because these things get, you don't want to go too puffy. You go puffy with your really lights, but part two. Keep our brush strokes really free. If you want to free up, you can go down your brush. If you want to get detailed, choke up on your brush. Yeah. These nice grays, like a Morandi. If you don't know Morandi, the painter, you should check him out. He's basically, he always just painted these bottles. He had all these white bottles, and over the years they'd collected all this dust. And but he's very known for painting these bottles, and his paintings are really kind of I don't know, cautious would be a good word. He seems very nervous about his mark making. But there's a certain quality to them, like I don't know, a humbleness and a deliberateness, which is really refreshing in the work. But anyway, he had these bottles he painted forever, and one day he came home and his cleaning lady like cleaned all his bottles, like cleaned all the dust off of them, so the light no longer kind of like died on the bottles. It became like bright and harsh. He was very upset about this. I don't think he fired her, but she probably felt bad. But that's how things end up in the trash, yeah. Alright, I think we're ready for part 3 here. Back down, nothing to it. Here's our big pile. Just gonna keep adding white. I might even add a little bit of blue, just because it is the ice planet Thoth. Is that what it was called in Star Wars? Thoth. Somebody looking at me like I'm a crazy person. Now their dog looking at me like I'm a crazy person. That's good. Alright. Yeah, perfect. So these clouds are going to be there's no warms in this. There were the warms in that orange before, but I destroyed all of that. That was the best thing about the work. Gotta be careful not to be too concerned. It's easy though. Easy to get carried away. But we're thinking the same principles here in this painting. Same exact principles. Hard edges versus soft edges. okay. People are really not going for my coming to the door and walking away. She's not good. Are they scared of the webcam? Maybe. Alrighty. Man. It's tough going so dark. Just it doesn't seem natural. Paint this guy so dark. There's something about this painting kind of has this like 1970s postcard feel to it. Once we have this blue in here, I don't know what time of day this is. In this painting. It's like 5 in the morning on a rainy day. But it's definitely not summer. Winter. And I'm just going to attack all of this now and blend it all out because these clouds need to the sky is so dark, there's virtually no distinction from these clouds. Almost the exact same value. A lot of people making these clouds would have wanted to go way, way whiter. But for me, it was important to keep this feeling of gloominess. And kind of just the ideas of clouds. this gloom, I think my trees are a little bit like they're too dark. The trees are too dark, so I gotta take those up. Oops. Go back. And I'm kind of using this gray for everything. I usually don't paint like this, but in this case of everything just having the same kind of feeling of mist and ooh, that's crazy light compared to what's there. Nope, has to be darker. Still should go darker. Let's mix up the ugly purple. Okay, so that's the color we gotta match. Can we take this up with some green? Yes, we can. Alright. So, I was testing here, that's why this thing got all splotchy. There's something about these darks that just wasn't working. This could make a nice forgery actually now. Keeping these, some of the darks is key with these tree shapes, and I'm just kind of splotching. There we go. And have one bit, well, it's just going to stay a little bit darker. Yeah. So I think that about does it. This is, just my underpainting. And now I'll wait for this to dry. It'll take about 2 days to dry. So on Thursday, I will be able to get back into it and do my abominable snowman. Pretty much has to be right here, I'm guessing, where I'll put him. It looks like the first part's finished, ready for step 2. Hope you learned something in watching this. Soft edges, hard edges, when to use them, when not to use them. And yeah, thanks for watching.